He spent more than 2 decades on death row, pleading for an end to his life. Aaron Gunches isn't your typical death row inmate, he's the man who begged the state of Arizona to execute him. With an execution date set, the question remains: what could drive a man to want his own death? This is the chilling story of Aaron Gunches and the crimes that led him to the edge of his own destruction. On March 19, 2025, Aaron Gunches will finally face the execution he's long requested. But this isn't just any typical story of a death row inmate. This is the story of a man who spent over 2 decades waiting for the moment when the state would finally carry out what he has desperately demanded: his death. Born on June 30, 1971, Aaron Gunches became known for something no one expects: his eagerness to die. Convicted for the 2002 murder of Ted Price, Gunches has lived on death row at Arizona State Prison for over 20 years. Yet, his case is one that raises far more questions than answers. The chain of events leading to Gunches' notorious fate began on November 14, 2002, when Gunches arrived at his girlfriend's home in Mesa, Arizona. What he found would set off a series of violent decisions that would haunt his life forever. His girlfriend had been involved in an altercation with her ex-husband, Ted Price, who had come by earlier that day. Price, who had been struck in the face with a telephone, was dazed and helpless. Gunches then had his girlfriend and her roommates load Price into his car, claiming they were going to drop him off at a bus station. But as the drive continued, Gunches quickly realized he didn't have the money to buy Price a bus ticket. His frustration escalated. Instead of dropping Price off, Gunches and an acquaintance drove him deep into the desert off the Beeline Highway. There, Gunches shot Ted Price 4 times, killing him. The life of a man was extinguished in the middle of the Arizona desert, a brutal end to a troubling encounter. Just 2 months later, Gunches found himself in yet another violent encounter, this time with law enforcement. During a routine traffic stop on January 15, 2003, Arizona Department of Public Safety Officer Robert Flannery pulled Gunches over. What followed was a shocking outburst of violence. Gunches fired at Officer Flannery, hitting him twice before fleeing the scene. The subsequent manhunt was intense, with over 50 lawmen searching for the fugitive. Gunches was eventually found hiding in a haystack and arrested the next day, later facing charges for attempted second-degree murder. By 2004, Gunches pled guilty to the murder of Ted Price, and in 2008, he was sentenced to death. What followed next would change the course of his life forever. In 2022, Gunches began making headlines for reasons far removed from his crimes. Representing himself in court, he asked the Arizona Supreme Court to issue his execution warrant, claiming that justice had been delayed long enough. In fact, Gunches had been vocal about his desire to be executed, even criticizing Arizona's delay in carrying out the sentence. His words were chilling. He saw his execution as a form of closure, not only for the state but for the victims and their families. Despite his desire for death, the system didn't comply. In 2023, a deferral on his execution was granted. Then, in 2024, Gunches once again demanded the execution to proceed. The back and forth continued as officials debated the logistics and protocols for carrying out the death sentence, with Gunches growing more frustrated. Finally, after years of legal wrangling, Arizona set a final execution date for March 19, 2025. This time, Gunches was clear. He did not want a reprieve. He was ready. But behind Gunches' request for death lies a tragic story of violence, mental anguish, and frustration. What could drive a man to ask for his own execution? Some argue it was his inability to confront the consequences of his actions. Others point to a deep sense of remorse. Or perhaps, a deeper desire to escape the torment of a life that he could no longer bear. As Gunches' scheduled execution draws near, the story of his life becomes a grim reminder of the complexities of human psychology and the justice system. Was his request for death a form of justice in itself? Or a cry for help from a man who no longer knew how to live with the choices he had made? On March 19, 2025, Aaron Gunches will have his final moments. His last words and last meal remain uncertain, but what's clear is that his journey, one marked by violence, guilt, and a desire for closure, is about to come to a tragic end. But one thing is certain. After years of delays, Arizona is finally set to carry out the sentence and deliver long overdue justice. Or will this execution be just another reminder of how far someone can fall, and how they may not be able to escape the consequences of their own actions? Only time will tell. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more true crime tales and chilling mysteries. Do you have any thoughts on this case? Drop a comment below. And as always, stay curious and stay safe. Until next time.